I've sort of divided the tools into what I'm kind of calling sort of the passive tools and then the more active tools used for communication. The passive tools being the institution page, which just gives you institution and everybody institution level announcements, the profile page, the activity stream and the calendar, which are not entirely under your control as an instructor. So that's sort of why I refer to those as the more passive tools. I'll expand more on that later. And then the more active tools, which are the messaging and announcement features. Collaborate, which is our web conferencing tool that is part of Ultra. And then we also have added rubrics, discussion boards. In Ultra, there's a new special kind of discussion board called Class Conversations, which we'll talk a little bit about. And then we'll talk briefly about journals and hopefully have plenty of time for questions. But, we're a small group, so please feel free if you do have a question at any time during the presentation, just open your mic and interrupt me and ask your question. If you feel more comfortable, feel free to post it in the chat. I do try to monitor that as best I can. I'm going to run through a slide deck today, but then at the end, the plan is to have enough time to do a live demonstration of some of these features. So stay tuned. Hopefully we will have time. Like I said, if you do have questions at any point, feel free to stop me. If I'm going over stuff that you are very familiar with and you don't really need to think you need to talk about it, feel free to stop me and say, hey, we know this. If I'm going too fast or too slow, whatever, just let me know. I'm happy to adjust. All right, so first is one of these passive tools that I'm calling the institution page. When you log into Blackboard, you'll hit what is called the Blackboard base navigation page. So, I'm sorry, I lost my train. Anyway, this base navigation page, when you land, you're on the institution page. And at the top it is a banner that generally where they post institution-wide announcements, right? This is where we posted that the Blackboard was upgraded, right? You'll see this is an old shot, but like I think currently we have an announcement about videos that are old videos that are going to be removed soon, things like that. So these are institution-wide announcements. Okay, on this institution page too, this is something that is customized to your role. So you'll have different ways to interact with Blackboard depending on what your role is. And like, excuse me, if you are a TA, you may have times when you're in as a student and in as an instructor, when you're doing your TA functions, you will be basically have instructor privileges. So you'll be logging in with your A number and you'll see different choices on your base navigation or your base landing page based on your role. If you see, I've coming down here and you see as you scroll down on the page, you can have to learn more. Here's another announcement that we had up earlier about customizing your notifications. Next, as you scroll down the tabs on the base navigation page, is your profile page. This is, for those of you who aren't into 70s Japanese sci-fi, this Ultraman was from that era. But you'll see your name here on your profile page. You can add a lot of different information. Anything that's editable, you will see a pencil icon pop up when you scroll over it. You can, and there's some things you can change. Now they've also added This is a new feature here, this add pronunciation. This allows you to actually add your name pronunciation. So you can record it. So all you have to do is click on that, and you can actually add your how your name is pronounced, and that will sort of follow you around Blackboard. You'll see a little speaker icon whenever someone has done that, so that you can click on that to find out how their name is pronounced, which I think is a great new feature. But this is just basically information about you and your role at the university, some of which you can edit, some of which you can't. Next up is our activity stream. This, I want to stress that the activity stream is something that is modified by the end user. Everybody gets different notifications. This is sort of a clearinghouse, right? It pulls in notifications from all of your courses into one location. So when assignments get posted, or grades get posted, things like that, that will show up in your activity stream, messages, stuff like that. But if you do have a lot of different courses, you're going to end up with a lot of stuff in your activity stream, and this is completely customizable by the end user. So the end user, meaning the student, can turn off the notifications that they are receiving. Okay, so what that means is that you as an instructor, right, just because you have posted a message or an announcement, that, if a student has turned off the notifications from your course, they won't show, that will not show up in their activity stream. Just be aware of that. This, the students are responsible for that. They know that, if they turn that off, that may eventually come to pass, but just understand that you as the instructor have no control over that. That is completely controlled by the end user. You yourself can turn off notifications from the activity stream if you want. A lot of instructors do this because you get a notification every time you post something in your course, and you don't always need those things. So a lot of times instructors will also limit the amount of courses that actually post to the activity stream. So just keep that in mind. If you want to configure your settings, you'll click the gear icon up here. This gear icon is a common icon you'll see in Blackboard Ultra, and if you see that icon and you click it, that generally opens some sort of settings for whatever tool it is you are using. Next up is the calendar. This is another one that is also completely configurable by the user. Couple things to note is that up at the top, you can either move months by clicking the arrows. You can adjust the view to either view a schedule or just filter the due dates, which is, I think, a great feature. And you can also switch from a day or a month view. Again, like I say, it's the end user who controls what calendars are posted on their base navigation calendar. So they could possibly turn off the notifications from your course. But that again is something that they are responsible for. All right, looks like we have everybody here. The next thing is up at the top, right? If you want to add events, or again, you'll see this gear icon that allows you to configure your settings. So by clicking either of those icons, right? If you click the plus icon, that's where you're going to add items to your calendar, like events or office hours, and you can edit your course schedule. This is something that you can edit to repeat weekly and things like that. If you click the gear icon, you see this opens the settings panel, and you can see, like I have, because I have an administrative role here at the university, I am inside a lot of different courses and shells and things like that. So I have quite a few, but you can see this, you'll just get a list of these things, and you can click them or check the boxes or uncheck them to decide which items are posted to your calendar. And then you can click these three dots up here to add or share a calendar. So, all right, I'm going to pause for just a moment to ask if there are any questions. And hearing none, I will move along. Okay, now we're getting into our more active tools. And the first one is the messaging tool. This is what was sort of that email function in the original course view. It's now turned into this messaging function. Messaging in Blackboard is completely contained within Ultra, but you can send email copies. But one of the nice features I like about the new message function, or the way the messages works now, is that you have a couple of different options for accessing and creating messages. The first is on this base navigation page. You have your messages tab. This again pulls messages from all of your current courses and organizations into one spot. This is nice because it gives you one place to check your messages, quickly. This is still being developed a little bit, and it's not quite perfect, but I think it is helpful because, for one thing, if you have new messages, they'll show up here on the little messages tab icon here, and this little circle will have a number in it when you're not clicked on the messages tab itself. But once you do click the messages tab, you can see all these little tiles for each of your courses. And if you have unread messages, they will be displayed. All you have to do is click on the course tile and it will take you to the messages. Okay, the other way is to inside your course. Okay, and this is a view inside your course. So if you've opened your course, there's a messages tab inside the course. And when you click on that, that again, right, puts you on this messages page. Okay, and you can create messages by clicking the plus tab. So I actually want to jump back here for a second. So you can also create new messages for all these courses from here by clicking this plus tab. You'll notice that some of these do not have a plus icon, I should say. That's because these courses are not actually open. So if you want to send a message and you notice, hey, I don't have this little plus icon to create a new message, that's because your course is not open. So you'll need to check that. But you can see here, you do it here. Okay, I guess. And then when you do that, clicking either one of those plus icons will take you to the messaging page. Okay, and your messages up to the top in the recipients box, you can click in there. You can send a message to an individual, you can send it to groups in your course, or you can send a message to the whole class. You do have the option to not allow replies by unchecking this box. And as I mentioned earlier, messaging in Blackboard is completely contained within Blackboard, or it's meant to be a contained messaging tool. And so if you want to send an email copy to your recipients, you'll have to click this box. If an email address is on file, then it will automatically send a copy to that person. I'm not, Nina, I'm not entirely sure what you mean. This is sort of like a way for you to communicate with students within your course. If you see that you have new messages, you're going to want to click on that because that means that a student is probably trying, or somebody else within the class is trying to connect with you. Oh, looks like, are you back, Nita? Okay, when you get your microphone, just jump on and ask me. It seems like a couple of people might be having some problem connecting, unfortunately. And we'll have time at the end for questions too. All right, next, I'm going to move on to the announcements. course announcements are similar to messages, but they are a little different in that they don't, you can't send them to individuals or groups. They only go out to the entire course. And the other nice thing about announcements too is that you can choose to post them right away, or you can schedule them to post later. This is a great way to announce upcoming tests or events within your class, you know, things like that, maybe that you posted grades. And, you know, you can, like I said, you can either choose to post them right away. So if you've got something like, say, hey, um, perhaps you have to cancel class for a night, you can post that as an announcement right away. Or if you say have a special speaker in class that you know is going to be coming in, you can schedule that announcement to go off a couple days ahead of time, or even a week, you know, whatever. You can schedule a number of different announcements, you know, to go off at a predetermined time to notify students. And by far, what I think is the best development with the announcement tool in Ultra is this pop-up window. What that means, what's nice about this pop-up window is it opens when there are new announcements anytime a student attempts to access the course. If there's a new announcement in the class before they can actually get into the course, this announcement pop-up window appears and lets them know that there are new announcements that they haven't seen yet. Now they can certainly click through that and don't have to necessarily read it right away, but at least they know it's there. You know, I can easily envision a scenario where a student is, you know, turning in an assignment at the last moment, and you know, they don't want to waste the time. You know, they don't have time to spend to read the announcement before getting into the class to turn it. But like I said, at least they know that announcement is in there, and they can access it by clicking the announcements tab under details and actions. But this, you know, this pop-up I think is a great new feature. So like I said, to create and post announcements on the, you know, as an instructor, you have that control. So under details and actions on your course page, you're going to click announcements. And I apologize, some of these images are a little dated, but the icons and stuff are still the same. It'll open your announcements page. You'll have to click the plus icon to create a new announcement. And when you do that, that opens this announcements page. You know, it's very similar to the way the email page looked. The only difference is right here, you'll see it's all course members. That's your only problem. Stephanie, don't worry about it. If you have, do the best you can. If you have questions at the end or need me to go over some stuff, I can hang out afterwards to cover any ground you missed. But just you'll want to create a title for your announcement. Again, you know, you type your message here. One thing I didn't point out is earlier is this text editor here. This is what they refer to as a rich text editor, which means you can you know, you can add basic different text styles and things like you could in Word. But the more important thing here is that you can attach different media files over here. This thing allows you to link, you know, post links in your announcements. This allows you to attach files, and this plus icon, if you click that, and I will demonstrate this later. No problem, Nate. I'll check out your message in a moment. But this plus icon also allows you to add different things like videos, and other media. So it really does allow you to create these very dynamic announcements. You know, it just doesn't have to be text. You could actually post a video announcement, something like that. Again, you can choose to send an email copy by clicking the box. And normally you would post it right away, but if you want to schedule it, you click the schedule box and then you'll click save. When you do click the schedule box, you'll see, actually, if you click save, you have the option to post now. That would be how you would do it initially. But if you click schedule announcement, this date window will show up to where you can schedule when your announcement will appear. And if you'd like that announcement to then disappear at some point. All right. So next up is Collaborate. This is Blackboard's web conferencing tool. It's built into uh, the system. It's similar to Teams and Zoom. You know, all of these web conferencing tools that we have access to here at Northern are, you know, do basically the same things, but some have, you know, strengths in some areas, you know, compared to others. So which one you like to use is entirely up to you. But this Collaborate is the tool that's already in um, Ultra. If you use Original, it's the same tool as you have in Original, which you will notice if you convert your course. But again, it's under the Details and Actions menu. And if you want to schedule sessions or basically do anything with your Collaborate content, you're going to want to click those three dots. And when you do, that opens the Collaborate menu, and here's where you're going to go to either create a guest link, you can edit your room settings, you can manage your sessions. That's clicking Manage All Sessions is where you will go to schedule class sessions if that's what you want to do, and then you can see all the recordings there, etc. But that's where you're going to go to add new Collaborate sessions. Most people are familiar with Collaborate, so I don't usually spend a lot of time on that. Unless somebody does have a question, I'd be happy to stop for a moment and talk more about that, but I don't see any hands going up, so I'll keep going. Another tool that I like to consider is good for communication is the rubric. Now, rubrics in Ultra, they're sort of calling they're calling them interactive rubrics now, and one of the reasons for this is because in your rubrics now you can give feedback on each individual performance factor as opposed to just giving feedback for the whole thing at the end. I mean, you can still do that too, but for each of the criteria that you're evaluating, you can add specific feedback to the rubric, which I think is a real nice feature. One of the things I really like about rubrics is I think it's a very clear way to communicate to students what expectations are for assignments, and you can reuse rubrics, you know, throughout your course on similar assignments, or you could say, for example, create a discussion board rubric that would apply to all of the discussions you have in your class. But, you know, so not only is it a great way to, you know, make your expectations clear, but it's also a really great way to ensure that you remain consistent in your grading and things like that. It's also a great way to make sure you maintain records of the way you graded students, because in the event that a student does challenge a grade or something, you need to have those records, and rubrics are a great way to demonstrate that, you know, no, this is how I evaluated this. But again, another thing that's new about rubrics in Ultra is that there are a couple of ways to add them to your assignments. You can either, when you're creating your assignment, you can click on the gear icon, right, on the assignment settings to open it up, and scroll down, and you'll see, if you scroll down a ways, you'll see this use grading rubric, and you just click that if you want to add a rubric. Now, you can either add an existing rubric if you have one, or you can create a new one. See, so you can, if you have a rubric that you want to use, you'll see it listed here, but if you want to create a new one, you just click create, and then the rubric tool will open up. Now, another way to add rubrics, in addition to adding them or creating them when you create an assignment, is to actually create them inside the gradebook. So if you click on the gradebook tab in your course, and then you'll click on the gear icon to open the gradebook settings, again, you'll have to scroll down a ways, but you'll see a course rubric section. Okay, this again is where, and you can see here, those other rubrics I had are listed again. It's pretty much the same thing, right? And if you want to add a rubric here, okay, you just click create new rubric. You'll see the rubrics you have listed. If you want to edit them, you can click the dots to edit. But when you click create new rubric, it opens and it starts in this default 4x4, but you can add, I believe they're up to 15 by 15 grids at this point. You can choose to create your rubrics as percentage or point based at this point. And to add, if and then you just basically fill out the rubric as you would any other rubric. You scroll over things. This is another common feature in Ultra, is that you'll scroll over something, and it's not doing it here for me, obviously, because but if you scroll over these things in here, you'll see a pencil icon pop up, and that, if you click that pencil icon, that will allow you to edit that. So you can add your criteria, you can add your descriptors for each performance level, and if you want to add performance levels or more criteria, if you hover over these lines in between, you'll see a plus icon pop up. When you click that plus icon, if you're on a row, between rows, I should say, it will add another row. If you're between columns, it will add another column. And when you've got your rubric set up to your satisfaction, click save, and it will be added to your course. You will then see that newly created rubric every time you click on that add rubric when you are creating an assignment, and it will be there. So that's nice to be able to create your rubrics ahead of time, especially if you use the same rubric for more than one assignment. Moving on to discussion boards. This again is another, there's a couple of ways to add discussion boards in your course. I recommend that you add your discussion board from the content page, and the reason I do that is because when you do add a discussion on the content page, which I will talk about in a second, that discussion form will also appear on the discussion page, so it'll appear in both locations. But you can also create discussions on this discussion page right here. You see that tab at the top. We'll talk about that in a second. But to create one within your content, you're going to scroll over your course content area. When this plus icon pops up, and it pops up in different locations to allow you to add your content exactly where you want to, you'll click that icon, and that opens the create item panel, or actually it will open a different menu. You'll click create, and when you click create, that create item menu pops out. You'll scroll down to the discussion and click that, and that will take you to the discussion page where this is the other way. If you click on the discussion page and click the plus icon, and that allows you to create your discussion. Oops. You'd create your discussion forum. Like I said, you can create them directly here, but then that will require you to direct the students to the discussion page in order to interact with the discussion. I think it's a little more convenient for students to have it in that content area. Next, I want to talk a little bit about class conversations, because this is sort of a dedicated discussion board that's attached to an assignment. When you are creating your assignment, in the assignment settings, there's an option here to allow class conversations. And what that does then is it sets up a discussion board that is tied to this assignment. And what will happen then is when students, and you'll see this little icon appear, okay? When there's new stuff, you're going to see this little purple icon, and I think that's changed a little bit. I'll talk about that in a second. But it's basically just a discussion board that is tied to a specific assignment. And what that means then is that you will see see if I've got it here. Yeah, you can see when you've got your discussions and or your class conversations enabled, when you open your course content, if somebody has posted to the class conversation discussion board, you will see this blue icon. All you have to do is click that, and that will take you to the class conversation where you can address whatever is being discussed or whatever question the student may have. This is just a little different way to go about it. Some instructors like having just sort of a dedicated discussion area for questions in class. But what's nice about this is it's just a way that you can quickly check, and you'll have a visual reference to see if somebody has a question about an assignment. You don't always have to be then opening a dedicated discussion board to check if there's new content. All right. Next, we have journals. Again, you can create them in the content area. Unlike discussions, there's no dedicated journal page. This is sort of, journals are meant to be sort of a private conversation between you and the student. They can be graded or ungraded. Same can be said for discussion boards. How you set that up is all in the assignment settings. But you can, create a journal by clicking the plus icon, then create. And from the create item panel, if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see this journal option. You click that, and that will add a journal. This, again, like I say, this is just a private space where each student has to, reflect on week's content or whatever, you want to set up that journal for. You may need, you can also set them up as ungraded, as just sort of a private sort of reflection space for students. It's kind of up to you. But this is another good way to sort of get that dialogue going between students, right, and get sort of a back and forth going. And it's nice because it's just between you and the student. It's not something that's out for everyone to see. Again, with your journal, if you want to modify the settings, you'll click this gear icon, and that'll open the journal settings. They're very similar to how assignment settings and discussion settings are set up. That is one of the new features of Ultra that I really like, is that they really do use a lot of sort of common threads and themes throughout, so everything is set up very similar, makes navigation and access for everyone, I think, much easier. Because in the original view, everybody could set up a course however they wanted, and that can be confusing for students. I think the consistency that Ultra affords is nice. But again, just like class discussions, in a learning journal or in the journal assignments and stuff, when there are new journal entries posted, you'll see an icon here. So, if you don't see that icon, that means nothing's been posted. So this is an easy way for you to check, but not have to actually open the journal and start sifting through to see if there are new posts. When you have the journal set up, when you go to grade it, when you click on it, it'll open this journal page. To see what students have posted, you'll click this participation arrow, and that will open up a list of your students. You'll see here, there's only a student with, it's just this little blue icon here. You click this, then to open the journal, and you can see what the students has posted. You can respond here. I know this looks a little confusing because there's me down here and there's also me up here, but again, you also have access to this text editor, so your journal can include multimedia, so you can include video, you can include audio, you can include files, pictures, things like that, links to other web pages. As always, when you do type in an entry or a post, you need to click post to get it saved. Yes,
Sorry, I have a question. Sorry to interrupt you.
No problem.
I'd like to know that how to activate my Ultra, because I couldn't do that, and I don't have any of these pages on my Blackboard.
Okay. And you said you were going to be
TA
you're a TA,
for this
correct?
semester, yes.
Okay. Are you teaching the course or are you just assisting?
Assisting.
Okay. So I that whether to convert to Ultra is really going to be up to your your lead instructor. Um, I don't know what the course you're going to be. Do you know what the course you're going to be teaching is?
I just know one of them. I still don't know if there's any other
Okay.
courses that I
And
should
yeah,
teach or
and we're
discuss.
moving to Ultra fairly quickly, so it's a pretty good. You've got a decent chance that the course may already have been converted.
Oh, okay. Thank you so
but
much.
but I don't think is in your role. I don't think you're gonna have much. I mean, you won't be able to convert the course, or you shouldn't do it without talking to your instructor first. But
Mhm.
if you are interested in learning more, we do have a lot of um, workshops that deal with ultra conversion, and you can always contact us too if you have questions too, and we can always help.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hmm. Do you have any other questions about this?
And no, thank you.
Okay. I'm going to stop the recording. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry.